here it is, the whole roof module is done. It did take quite a bit longer than I thought. I had forgotten how much time and hassle it takes to build up this sort of thing with all these supports inside, and this time the wiring had to be a lot more precise in order to well, get it right and not have to go back anytime soon. But yeah, it's pretty finished. So now you can see the whole spacing and the way it pays off. The distances are obviously greater, and it's something that I could say is a good result considering all the time and effort I've put into it. And one of the things that I also done differently this time is the cover here, which is a bit different to what it was before. Bit more tidy, easily removable, and over here we have the two battery boxes, and whenever they can't move, obviously they can't go inside, they can't fall in any way, they have their own compartments, and whenever I need to change the batteries I can simply take it out like so, change the batteries, put it back in, and whenever I want I can turn both of them on. Here we go. This is the Great Hall with the new lights, the new windows, and the new roof. Really happy with the result. The trans orange pieces on the roof really make a difference, bring that cozy look over here where the light is poking, where the middle tower should be, is what the light actually is. And you can see the difference through the window and the trans orange pieces. Even though maybe on the camera it seems that some of the windows are brighter than others as they move the camera around, the lights are actually in real life very identical. Over here, which you've seen before, really is the same. I really like it though. It was very important for the light to be, well, it is quite high up. It needed to be bright enough for everything to be illuminated. But what's important is that everything here is very well lit up. Here is from the behind. And now, as shown before, the foyer is also lit up. Very, very nice. Now, as the roof is done, it's only natural to move to the towers. I have the towers over here, and they have basically not changed at all since this whole rebuild began a couple of months ago. They fit pretty much the same way. Some of them are slightly bit damaged here and there, as you might notice, as I have been trying to tweak this and that just to improve them somehow. And I've run into somewhat of a dead end. Now, first, these two side towers, which, if you remember when I did them initially, I was really proud of this design because it's very, very similar to what the shape of the towers should be. Not only that, the scale of the towers themselves is very accurate to the overall building. And also, they're very durable. You can handle them with disregard or whatever, and they won't fall apart. So yeah, I was really happy with this, but I really want to use this opportunity to improve them somehow, or at least add some more texture, because I really wouldn't want them to be so well bland compared to the improved texture of the building. But I have run into some problems. I have tried 4 or 5 different, completely different from one another ways of doing this, and I have found some solutions, but overall always something doesn't work out. Either the towers become very thick, or they are very difficult to manipulate when it comes to the windows or placing the roof, or they are very fragile, or the angles are not right. I have seen many different MOCs in different scales when it comes to these 3 towers, and nobody gets them right, and that pretty much includes me as well. I mean, this variation, I mean, over here it's a bit touched, it's not, these knots are not proper, but this overall thing is the best thing that I have seen for these towers. The middle one, mine, is not great as well. There are certain elements that I like, but there are certain things that I don't like this shape here being implemented with the roof. Nobody does that, as it's very challenging. I did my best. It's not the best thing. I would try to improve it, but at least I tried, you know. And yeah, you could always use plates and stuff, but that's rookie stuff for me. Plates are, unless you're gonna cover the plates with a lot of detail, it's just this scale of building shouldn't be done with plates. But anyway, that's my opinion. Nobody cares. And yeah, let's go back to this. So for the time being, since nothing that I've tried seems to really work, I am thinking about simply keeping this for the side towers with adding some texture where possible. Now I can add a 1x3 over here on every row, and we only have these corners here without texture, which is fine, except that all rows will be hanging by only one stud or one slot, which means that they will be out of, they will not be leveled. Well, basically they'll be not leveled all the time, as there'll be around 50 or 60 of them on one tower, and they'll always be pretty much tilted somehow, which will annoy the crap out of me, I'm so sure. The other thing is just to add the 1x1 over here, which I don't know if it will be enough. But yeah, for the time being, I will let this sit for a while. And I will think about if any other right ideas will come to me. But I will probably keep this shape, as I am really happy with it overall. And just try to add some texture here and there. Hopefully it will not look too off-putting. One thing I will do is adjust a little bit where the tower is positioned, the overall frame and the overall structure and shape and overall, what do you call it? Size. There we go. I'm sorry. Overall size is right. However, it should be a little bit lower, like this side here. It should be lower than here, and this side that is sticking from this point to this point shouldn't be so much. It should be like so. This window basically should be where the rooftop ends. So I will adjust that. And then I will focus most of my energy on the middle tower. One thing that I will do, I've seen in most pictures and also in my notes for whenever I'm doing this, that this base of the tower should start from over here, basically where the level of these windows are. So I will dig into 4 more rows of brick and start from here. The overall shape will probably remain the same. And now again, how can I keep this shape if I keep it, to place texture on it? Then can I keep this thing, which is a step in the right direction? At the same time, this can it be improved? And the spire, which is a total mess, can it be done better? Obviously without plates. Don't want to go into plates. Yeah, I have zero desire to do that. So yeah, that is probably what I'm gonna do in the next couple of days. The problem with these kind of builds is that you could spend 20 hours trying different things, tens, if not dozens, tens of dozens variations, and there is no guarantee you will find, basically you will get to the finish line, which is really annoying and really frustrating part of building your own things, really, because you don't know what are you doing. You're just trying stuff out, and if you're really striving for a, well, let's not say perfect result, but a very, very good result, you end up being disappointed, and it's very, very demoralizing to spend 10 hours of building and then end up with nothing to show for it. But that's the way it is. So having said that, yeah, let's see what I can do with these towers. Okay, well, this took a little bit longer than expected, but here we go. So I reconstructed based on the old design, added all these knots basically wherever possible, and I also increased the tower a little bit, like mentioned. The lower side here is a bit longer, so this chopped off part now is slightly bigger. And I have increased the windows by one brick, so they're a bit longer now. And that should be a little bit more accurate to what it is. And this one obviously doesn't have even the first layer of texture. This one does, mostly. Again, the problem that these plates are sometimes hanging on only one knot will mean that they'll have to be readjusted here and there, which will be annoying probably, but it's, yeah, the only option I have so far. I have reconstructed over here accordingly to make sure that it supports this design. Over here we must not have any texture, so it can slot in properly. And over here I have removed even the first layer of texture because it will hit against this one, and I will see once I start applying all the details whether I will build this way or this way, so the plates don't interact with one another too much and hit each other. But yeah, this way it really fits nicely. The dimensions are correct, and even though you can't really see it properly without the texture that is supposed to be applied, it will, I think, blend well enough with the overall design of the building. I like that this now is over here. The top part is below the level of the roof as it should be, which is what I was aiming for. So with that done, it's time to move to this tower, which I don't know if I even will be able to finish in a way that is satisfactory. I might just spend, I don't know, tens of hours on this without any resolution. But something that I know what to do, like mentioned already, this base here will have to be lowered to here. So I'll take everything apart, take the module of the roof out of the building, chop this off, make the same adjustments just starting from here, and then we'll see how it goes. While working on the tower, the middle tower, mostly in my mind, I decided to do some little tweaks inside the Great Hall. That's why I took everything apart, which gives me a good opportunity to show you all the modules well separated from one another. Haven't seen them recently, with the back here of the Great Hall, the roof, and the towers removed from the roof, the foyer over here. Obviously, this slides out from the other side. And yeah, over here the top and the scene inside. So what I did was add 2 more minifigs to the Hufflepuff row, which is over here to the far right. I believe they are over there with the boy with the orange hair and the girl next to it. And the only thing that pretty much is left with the students is I would like to add 2 more Ravenclaw students as well, whenever I get the chance of, well, finding some more uniforms. So actually, we have a row with 27 minifigs over here, 2 with 26, and the Ravenclaw one with 25, which I would like to up to 27. So that's pretty good. I'm very pleased with that amount. And also, I added 2 more faculty members over here, namely Madame Pins over there next to Lupin, and also Madame Pomfrey over there next to Hagrid. That was a suggestion from a subscriber over on the community section. Thank you so much for that suggestion. It's actually very, very adequate and accurate suggestion, which I like. The only problem is that both those 2 ladies come with these skirt sloped pieces instead of legs, so I had to replace those with, well, normal legs of the same color, black and white respectively, which if you really look into it, kind of is annoying, but my other option was really not to have them seated, which didn't really work. So you can't really see it, especially Madame Pomfrey, which is in the back, so that's fine. And the other thing that I did is decide where exactly the gargoyles of, well, all the animals are going to be. And for that, I actually use this piece of paper over here to draw it out, because as you might remember, we have a row over here on the left for 8 gargoyles, but over here on the right we only have room for 6 because of the fireplace, which means that instead of 16 gargoyles we're going to have 14, and 4 animals. 2 of those are going to be there 4 times, and the other 2 are going to be there 3 times. And since the lion and the badger are probably going to be the most part-intensive animals anyway, I decided for them to be the ones that are with only 3 quantity. So what I really want to do is that there is some logic to the placement. So yeah, as usual, I visualize things to help me. So we have B for badger, L for lion, E for eagle, and S for snake. So basically I have them kind of mirrored. So if you look for this combination here, we have BLES, which corresponds with this one diagonally, except this one is mirrored, the S is to the side, and so on. And this one is the same. This way it really brings some variety. I didn't want, for example, all the eagles to be to the side and all the badgers in second position here, or maybe here and here. So this way it's well, there is enough variety, let's just call it like that. And accordingly, really, I have placed the eagles in their respective positions and removed finally all the other gargoyles that have been sitting there for, well, 2 years now pretty much, which now leaves me with a lot of gargoyles, which actually thinking about setting, I think I can get about, I don't know, 60-70 euros for all these gargoyles. But yeah, maybe I will just keep them and use them in some fantasy setting or whatever. So always helps to have some gargoyles laying around. Anyway, so with that little detour, I can now put everything back together and see what the middle tower will look like after I implement my ideas. So let's do that. Well, this is a shot we've not seen in a while. This is actually the other side of the Great Hall, where the side building will be connecting, and where I decided to keep the rock panels over here. Something that originally is not in the building layout, but something that came up a while ago, and while rebuilding I decided, well, I shouldn't remove it, it should still be there. That's why over here it's smooth and there will be no texture. But the reason I turn up everything, turn it around, is that over here, the chimney, I decided to finally do that. I knew it wasn't gonna take very long, about 30 minutes, so just basically rebuild it, same height, 22 studs. And yeah, the back here doesn't have texture, and obviously the final texture elements are not here, as pretty much this whole wall, other than over here. But yeah, nothing really all that special compared to what it was before, except that this here is now 5 studs wide, well, long, and 3 studs wide instead of 2 and a 4. I did this pretty much in the end because the texture does increase the thickness of the chimney, and the 2x4 looked a little bit off-putting. So I just increased the scale basically slightly so it doesn't stand out as much. Everything else really is the same. So only thing I'm kind of regretting is that the way it is, I can't really do the, for example, this kind of texture. I mean, I can, but it will decrease the stability. I might end up trying some stuff. The problem is that I don't really have such bricks like this in Nougat, which I will require really, and it will look a bit strange. So yeah, I might get some of those if they're not too expensive, and try to really just maybe put a few of these cracks on the chimney as well, but it's going to be in the back, and most people are not going to see that anyway, but just add a crack or two, maybe one over here and one to the side, something like that at some point. Something that I would probably like to do. But yeah, now let's go to the middle tower. Remember when I said that when you're trying to do something like this and you don't really know how long it will take, you could spend 20 hours and in the end still might not be satisfactory? Well, this was kind of the case, except a lot of progress was made. So I'll show you, this is what it looks like. Obviously I've placed some texture here, and some places you can see where texture will exist. So let's place this. There we go. And talk about it a little bit. Now, let's start with the initial thing. Remember before, this middle tower started from here. And now it starts from here, as it should be, as most of the pictures and renderings that I see. It does start from the level of the base of these windows here, the last row. However, that means, because obviously the roof is sloping upwards, and I remember that the reason I started from here and not just some random place was that the distance from here to the other side is equal to the distance from here to here. So you can easily make a shape that is even. And something that I didn't take into account is that when I lower it here, the distance increases by 4 studs, 2 from this side and 2 from the other side. While here the distancing is the same. Now one would say maybe that, well, simply increase the distancing here and here as well. I could have done that, did consider it actually, but then the distancing between this window and the tower was going to be, well, basically 1 stud on both sides, over here, and respectively 2 over here, which just I didn't like. Already the distancing here should be a bit bigger than this. I mean, this is fine, but it should be a bit bigger, most likely, and I just didn't like that prospect. So I spent quite a lot of time trying to figure out how exactly to make this shape. Remember that before we used a lot of panels, a lot of other stuff, and it was fine. But now I'm trying, obviously, a way to apply more texture on this thing. And I wanted to find some kind of a pattern to do it as well, because once you apply the texture, it really stands out even more. So while doing that, I was really trying to figure out how this is going to be 4 studs, and then the distance here is bigger. And what I ended up doing was figure out this kind of an optical illusion. Basically, over here at some point, this side that matters becomes the same. And it was, well, also important to make it a lot sturdier than before. The other tower was sturdy, but for example, if I dropped it from a meter the ground, it would shatter. Well, this one will not shatter. This is pretty solid, this crisscrossing pattern, and yeah, it's can be used as a blunt object, you know. So over here on the top, I pretty much kept the same line, except that I found a way to actually add this line here. So this shape was kept and improved. Not really sure if I'm going to keep these angles depending on the slots. For example, over here you see a little bit of tan is showing, which is not okay. So I will probably remove where the brick with the slot is, maybe shift it a bit upwards and change it to dark bluish gray. And over here I will place a plate one by one that is tan, so colorations are fine. Thing that I don't like is that this is hanging on one snot stud over here, which is a technique I try to avoid because I don't like builds that are fragile and flaky. That for me indicates laziness. But for the time being, since this is a weird angle, there is no real way to do it. I try to place another one here and have them connected to 2 snots, but it just doesn't work as the spacing here is different and it's lower than it's thinner than one plate. And the reason that I've stopped here is because mainly I need more of these shaped 2x2s that are like with a cutoff. I will use them to try to make the roof, which is the toughest part really of this mid tower, because it's so very high and it becomes very thin around the top, and you can't really do that unless you use plates, which looks terribly ugly. So I'm trying to do it with bricks again, similar to what I did before in the previous version, but that one was like atrociously not satisfying in a way. So this way I have like an idea how to do it. So yeah, it is going to be brick built all the way to the top, and it has to be pretty much from here to like over here ish. So it has to be pretty tall. We'll see how exactly I figure it out. It's not going to be perfect, as this mid tower is not perfect, I don't think, but it is actually an improvement of the last one. Here it's as it should be. The spacing is better. The other one had thickness over here that suddenly popped, which was not great. Actually here the texture will help, because over here the texture stops and over here we will have texture. So even though this side here is a bit thicker than here, when we apply the texture, this will actually pop to the sides a little bit, so it will look fine. And yeah, that is pretty much the mid tower, which, well, at least for now will not have lights, because just the lights don't go inside. I did try to make it hollow, but just the lights are just over here and the light doesn't really travel that well upwards. I mean, it does, but not enough to illuminate enough through these 2 windows. The other option will be to wire like this, but then removing it will be annoying, and I don't think it's needed. These side towers don't have lights either. Obviously they're not hollow, they're all solid brick inside. And yeah, I don't think it's needed that these should be lit up as well, at least for the time being. So yeah, that's pretty much it regarding this tower, I think. And that pretty much brings this video update to an end. Quite a lot of work was done, I would say. I was really afraid what I was able to do here, especially, but I am pretty satisfied with even what I have been able to do. So while I'm waiting for these things here and these pieces to see how exactly the roof part will shape up, I will probably focus on trying to bring back all the flowers here and working inside on the kitchens. Most likely I'll be doing that next time. So yeah, once again, thank you so much for watching. Like, share, subscribe, comment, all that jazz really helps. And I will see you guys again in the next, well, in 14 days or so. So, bye for now.